Let's start, though, with Chelsea and the potential blockbuster swap deal with Napoli. Mark, what do we know about these two going in opposite directions?
Afternoon, Mike. Yeah, this could be a huge deal for the Premier League. We haven't really seen the Premier League transfer window kick into life, but this would be, like you say, a blockbuster-style deal that would really get the mouth watering ahead of the brand new Premier League season. Now, we know that Chelsea are potentially in the market for a number 9, and they're looking to move on Romelu Lukaku. Victor Osimhen would certainly tick all of the boxes that Enzo Maresca would like to tick. However, this potentially could be an expensive deal to get done. If you'd spoken to Chelsea maybe 6 weeks ago and said Victor Osimhen, they would have said, yeah, we love the player, we like the player, but financially, it might be out of reach for us. However, over the course of the last 24 to 48 hours, there appears to be some common ground between Napoli and Chelsea. Now, you have to go back to December, where Victor Osimhen signed a brand new Napoli contract that we understand had a release clause of around 130 million euros. Napoli gave him wages that they'd never pay to any player in their history, perhaps wages they couldn't really afford. But their thinking was, actually, we'll just have him for 6 months, we'll get to the summer, and someone will come in and pay this big, huge release clause. However, there's very few teams in world football that can afford that type of money for a striker. And you look at Real Madrid, they've got Mbappe. Barcelona don't have the cash to spend. Manchester City have got Haaland. Manchester United are comfortable. So suddenly, Napoli are running out of options to potentially sell Victor Osimhen. Hence where Chelsea come to the table. They're looking for a number 9, as we say, and they could potentially do the right type of deal. However, it would mean Napoli have to tweak that release clause. And we know one of the things that could be a make-weight is that Romelu Lukaku, who played for Antonio Conte before, is on their target list as well. Conte wants Lukaku. He believes he's the right man for Napoli. And that's where you could see Osimhen heading in the opposite direction. Now, this is a deal that will probably go on for the next few days, weeks, and maybe even months, because it's not something that will happen overnight because of the finances involved. However, the most important thing is, Michael, there's some common ground between Napoli and Chelsea over a potential deal.
Michael, Mark mentioned Osimhen in company of some exalted players there. Is he one of the best in Europe?
Certainly over the last few years, Mike, he's been fantastic. He's 25 years of age. And what strikes me now around Europe and maybe around the world, how many absolute world-beating top-class strikers do we have now? It's incredibly difficult to find a top striker. This man has done it in Serie A for the last few seasons. He's been fantastic, especially the season before last. Really, really impressive. And you can see here, Mike, that is very, very impressive. Most Serie A goals, yes, Serie A, but he's done it. He's done it in one of the top leagues. 41 goals in 57 games. Now, my point here, Mike, would be one man, Antonio Conte. He's not been part of Napoli's pre-season. Now, we know Antonio Conte likes a gruelling, tough pre-season, and he's not been part of that just yet. What do we also know is that Romelu Lukaku doesn't look like he's got a future at Chelsea, and we know that Antonio Conte at Napoli rates him ever so highly.
Bizarre to think that Lukaku is actually back training with Chelsea at the moment. He's had 2 loan deals, Mark. Does he have to go on a permanent deal now?
Yeah, as far as Chelsea are concerned, that's the end of the road for Chelsea and Romelu Lukaku. The marriage made in heaven is not so much a marriage made in heaven anymore. And you're quite interesting, you point out the 2 loan spells in the last 2 seasons, Inter Milan and Roma. If you go back even further, because we know that Lukaku has had multiple spells at Chelsea, he's actually been on loan 4 times. West Brom, the first loan, then Everton before making a permanent move, and then they re-signed him again for £100 million, and then the 2 loans we've just mentioned there. So this is a situation where they're saying, absolutely no way do we do another loan for Lukaku. That's not in our thinking, that's not in our remit. We need to try and claw back as much money as we possibly can, and that means Lukaku goes permanently this summer.
We talk about loans, though, as well. However, Osimhen's agent, Roberto Calenda, has been quoted on social media in the last few hours as saying that a simple player exchange is fantasy. It's as if a player was to be delivered quickly. So Osimhen's agent doesn't sound too keen on potential loan to Chelsea. But I think a lot of these modern-day loans now, they're quite different. It's about deferring payments, isn't it, and structures. We saw last week Pierre-Emile Højbjerg joining Marseille on loan. he will never play for Spurs again. Marseille will be paying £17 million next season.
It's all about being clever. It's all about being creative with the finances and making sure you fit within PSR parameters, hence why there will be a loan with an obligation or an option. I think the loan word is a little bit deceiving in this situation because it would very much be a permanent deal should it get sorted, because Napoli couldn't afford Osimhen if he came back in a year's time because of the wages that he's currently on. They just wouldn't be able to make it work. And I think the final point on this situation, and we were talking about it earlier, this is very much against the grain of what Chelsea have done under Todd Boehly over the last couple of seasons. The last few windows, they're buying young players, they're buying hungry players that they can develop. Osimhen is the real deal right now, and Chelsea fans will be looking at this signing saying, you're our number 9 and you're going to deliver us 20 plus goals and you're going to go straight into the team. There's none of this, let's wait and see, he's going to take a bit of time, he's a young player. No, he goes straight into that side if they can get the deal done.
All right.